Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this Friday. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Cohn. A march for missing and murdered Indigenous women brings out hundreds to rally in support on the streets of Billings today.
It's an issue that's plagued Montana reservations, now taking the forefront as law enforcement, state lawmakers, and community leaders speak out for the safety of Native American women.
The campus of MSU Billings is the starting point for today's awareness march that then wound its way into the heart of downtown.
Q2's Zoe Zandora takes us there.
Put on by MSU Billings and partners is create awareness in the community and bring justice to the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women.
He's given us a chance to speak loud, silent no more.
The only other things in this world that you have to prove their breed are horses and dogs and Native Americans.
Those that are still, missing. Yep. Those that have been murdered, not by choice. Those that have lost their lives because of a sacrifice. Yep. We're here because of them.
Nearly 1,000 people gathered at MSU Billings to start the march and made their way down 27th Street, finishing at the Yellowstone County Courthouse lawn.
Murdered and missing women have gone on far before it has come to attention.
Activists, community members, family and friends remembering missing and murdered Indigenous women. The murder rate of Native women being 10 times more than the national average.
All these Indigenous women and these Indigenous people that go missing, we feel it, and you hold your babies a little closer that night.
Senator Steve Daines, who believes missing and murdered Native women is a significant problem in Montana, has introduced 4 different legislative actions to combat crimes towards Native Americans.
We walked humbly today in this march. What's lacking is justice. And we must bring justice to these murdered and missing Indigenous women.
Native crimes on federal lands, not a whole lot of people will take us serious.
Runs Above says he feels things are heading in a good direction, and he is hopeful that community outreach like the march will help bring awareness to the community and the state.
Turnout was awesome, phenomenal. People came together, both Native, non-Native, but he's just a human being, it's a human being thing. So. But yeah, we came together in a good way.
In Billings, Zoe Zandora, MTN News.
Thanks, Zoe. Now, just yesterday, Montana Senator Steve Daines brought forward a bill to recognize May 5th as the National Day of Awareness for missing and murdered Native women and girls.
The issue of missing and murdered Indian women also part of the biggest and longest running college powwow in Montana.
The 51st annual MSUB powwow started tonight with the grand entry. This is the second powwow of the season following last week's in Bozeman. Now, the theme of this year's event is honoring our future leaders.
A basketball tournament also helps raise awareness of the missing and murdered women. Powwows are a time for tribes across Montana and nearby states to come together and dance and celebrate.
We have such a extended family that not only extends within our own tribe, but extends intertribally too. It not only highlights each of our individuality that we have from one another, but it also unifies us. We all still have all of these traditional regalia, beadwork, languages, culture, traditions.
The MSUB powwow wraps up tomorrow with another grand entry at noon tomorrow, and the basketball tournament tips off at 8:30.
Well, it's official. Bozeman Democrat Kathleen Williams will take another run at Montana's lone seat in the U.S. House.
Williams unveiling her plans to a vocal crowd of supporters in a rally downtown Billings this afternoon. Now, last November, if you recall, Williams lost to Congressman Greg Gianforte in Montana's U.S. House race, but it was close. Gianforte has not yet announced what his future plans entail. He, however, is believed to be considering a run for governor.
Today, Williams highlighted some of her campaign themes, including affordable health care for all and access to public lands.
I don't make promises I can't keep. My promise to all Montanans is that I will listen, no matter where in the state you live, and regardless of your political leanings. Over the next 18 months, I look forward to earning your vote to be Montana's representative in Congress.
Earlier this week, Democratic state lawmaker Tom Winter of Missoula announced that he too will be seeking the nomination for U.S. House on the Democratic side. A Montana primary next year, if you're keeping track, takes place on the 2nd of June.
Well, President Trump's new permit approving the controversial Keystone XL pipeline, now the subject of another lawsuit in a Great Falls federal courtroom. The Indigenous Environmental Network and North Coast Rivers Alliance claim that Congress, not the president, has the authority to regulate interstate commerce. The new lawsuit was filed before U.S. District Judge Brian Morris, the same judge who halted construction of the pipeline because the project's previous permit was issued without considering the pipeline's effect on climate change.
A state district judge has sided with solar energy advocates in their lawsuit against the Montana Public Service Commission. Their suit accuses the PSC of illegally undercutting development of small commercial solar projects. In his ruling this week, District Judge James Manley found that the PSC made arbitrary and unreasonable decisions that spiked numerous Montana solar energy projects. At issue, the Commission's decision 2 years ago to cut the rates at which independent solar projects can sell their power to Northwestern Energy. Plus, the Commission also decided that the contracts for the small solar projects could no longer be 25 years in length, but rather 15 years. The PSC now has 20 days to revise those decisions.
Well, turning to weather tonight, Bob, all this melting snow is making a lot of mud, and that's not ruling out fire risk in our region.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We have a weak cold front moving in tomorrow, so that'll cool things down, but then that'll be followed by a warm front on Sunday, and that's going to be where our issue is. Let me show you what's happening. Because of that, we're expecting windy conditions to kick up. Temperatures are going to get up into the upper 60s. Humidities will drop down to 20 to 30%, and so I think probably sometime in the late morning and through probably sometime in the late afternoon, the winds will be kicking in 15 to 30 miles per hour when that warm front moves through, and of course those grasses are going to dry out, and so we have an elevated fire risk for the grasslands in eastern Montana by the time Sunday afternoon gets here. And right now, if you have any fire restrictions, the only one we have right now is over in Powell County. That's the one that's just north of Butte. So we're looking at maybe some pretty warm temperatures this weekend. That will probably dry some of the grasses out, but we did have some showers today. We'll show you where those are at coming up in a few more minutes.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Well, new details tonight reveal a New York man arrested in Bozeman Wednesday told an FBI informant he wanted to shoot up a Bozeman hotel after getting kicked out of it.
21-year-old Fabjan Alametti was arrested Wednesday at a shooting range in Bozeman. He now faces charges of possessing a firearm while using a controlled substance. Alametti, who was being tracked by federal agents, first stopped in Billings and bought an air gun here. Court documents state Alametti then traveled to Bozeman, checked into the Bozeman Inn, but was told to leave after he was found to be smoking marijuana in his room.
Now, the FBI also says it gained information that Alametti wanted to go to Syria to fight for ISIS. An informant also told authorities that Alametti wanted to plot an attack in the U.S. against a Jewish temple, gay club, or military recruitment center after being inspired by last month's attack on a New Zealand mosque.
One woman is dead, and the man she was living with in jail accused now of shooting her twice.
Bozeman police say William Bailey shot the woman last night as she returned to their mobile home. Police say Bailey and the victim had argued earlier in the day, and Bailey started drinking. When the woman left to visit someone else, Bailey got a handgun.
Then when she returned, he allegedly shot her. Police say a neighbor heard those gunshots, then saw Bailey draping a towel over the woman who was lying in the street.
Now, authorities now charging a North Dakota chiropractor with the murders of 4 people in Mandan.
Police there arrested Chad Isaac on Thursday, 3 days after 4 victims were discovered inside the RJR Property Management Company. Isaac made his first court appearance today. According to police, the victims were shot and stabbed. A motive, though, is still unknown.
Now, RJR reportedly ran the RV park where Isaac lived.
In Miles City, school officials say they were unaware that a former athletic trainer was sexually abusing dozens of male athletes decades ago. New court filings in Custer County say James Jensen, avoided targeting the children of administrators for his program in fear he might be caught. In March, former athletes said they told coaches at the school of the abuse, but no one stopped it. Jensen also faces criminal charges in Custer County for allegedly possessing child pornography.
What started as a group of volunteers right here in Billings has grown into 5 health centers across the state. Now, this year, Planned Parenthood of Montana celebrates 50 years. Q2's Andrea Lutz talks with the CEO as she looks ahead to the next 50 years.
50 years.
It's a long time building that trust.
Trust CEO Martha Stahl says happened through advocacy, education, and healthcare.
The breadth of the work that we do has really grown over time.
In 1969, Planned Parenthood was started by a group of volunteers in Billings. From there, it's grown to 5 clinics across Montana.
Just as a science and a way of practicing healthcare, things have changed so dramatically.
And a dramatic number of Montanans served. Stahl says they see 10,000 patients a year coming from all types of backgrounds.
After 50 years, we now see, of course, moms bringing their daughters in and dads bringing their daughters and sons in. But we also see patients that we saw their mother and we saw their grandmother.
But what sets them apart seems to keep them in the spotlight. Patients seeking abortions, Planned Parenthood performing them.
Abortion is an issue that's deeply personal to people.
And deeply debated. In Georgia, lawmakers discussing a contentious bill over abortion called the Heartbeat Bill.
That has a beating heart, is a living, distinct person.
In Maryland, a measure to disqualify clinics like Planned Parenthood from federal funding if they include abortion referrals.
The majority of people are against public funding abortion, whether they're pro-life or pro-choice.
And here in Montana, multiple abortion bills discussed by lawmakers, one proposing to ban abortions as early as 8 weeks into pregnancy.
Most people support Planned Parenthood. They support the care that we provide. They know about what it is that we do. They want to see us continue to receive government funding, federal funding for family planning care.
Even with so much discussion over abortion, Stahl hopes folks will focus on the bigger role Planned Parenthood provides to women and men for education about sexuality and resources for reproductive health.
What I go back to is those patients and thinking about the difference we've made in the lives of patients.
She says making a difference in lives and communities, it's a goal for the next 50 years.
And Andrea tells us tomorrow there is a 50th anniversary celebration here in Billings. That's from 5 to 8 at the Post at the Billings Depot.
Artists and art connoisseurs alike wandering the streets of downtown Billings this evening to take part in the 25th annual Billings Art Walk.
Now, the walk offers local and national artists a chance to show and sell their work here in Billings. 35 different spaces took part in tonight's event. Some businesses that are not traditionally art galleries even put out some easels and hosted some beautiful work.
Now, the Billings Public Library pulled some of its work out of its archives to put on display. It includes a map added to by Yellowstone Kelly and a C.M. Russell painting that hasn't seen the light of day in some 25 years. So, with the Art Walk celebrating 25 years, what keeps this event running strong?
What I have found is that artists and gallery owners and downtown business people, we all share a love of art and we all share a love of community. And those are the two things that I think sustain the event, because it truly is a community and we work in concert to pull this off.
The Billings Art Walk is held 6 times each year, and if you miss the walk tonight, you're in luck. The next one is scheduled for June 7th.
Coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, in the ACM Awards, does the C stand for country or controversy? We'll take a look at tomorrow's event and what fans are saying.
And in sports, plenty of fanfare in Bozeman for new basketball coach Danny Sprinkle. Scott hears from the Montana native coming up.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.